Dear Venerable Sir, Dhamma friends, we are going to have a sermon or Dhamma talk. May everyone settle down for the talk and give the consent with 3 times. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Seelavanta uso kottita panchupadanakkhandhe aniccato dukkhato rogato gandato sallato paragato abhadato parato palokato anattatoti yoniso manasika tabbati ti. Venerable Sir, Dhamma friends, we were taking a particular discourse from the Samyutta Nikaya known as Seelavanta Sutta and try to find topics for the day for the last few talks in a sequential manner. This is not a direct particular discourse from the Buddha, but it's a dialogue or a question and answer session between very prominent 2 disciples in the contemporary time of the Buddha, namely Venerable Sariputta and Venerable Kottita. And one may question why these big shots or chief disciples still have a question and answers. Do they entertain doubts? Or do they still have anything to clarify? It's a kind of a original question. But in overall you can see by this question and answer session in a dialogue, they are making, opening an avenue for a people like us, those who do not know even how to ask this question, not only the answer. So I will revert back to the Sutta and see how and why Venerable Sariputta is giving this answer, because Venerable Kottita is asking a particular question. Seelavanta uso Sariputta katame dhamma yoniso manasikātabba. Whenever someone is with moral restraint or happy about one's own morality, what are the things that particular person should contemplate upon, or do wise reflection, or do radical reflection? Then, as an answer or as a response to that particular question, Venerable Sariputta is telling, whenever someone is happy about one's own moral restraint, that means physical and verbal restraint, he or she must give attention to the 5 aggregates as they are impermanent, they are suffering, and non-self character, that he expand into 11 facets. Ultimately they boil down to these particular 3 characteristics. So, when someone living in this present day life, many people are full of inferiority of their own lifestyle. They never feel happy that we are moral people, we are morally strong enough. Whatever the way of life people living in the society at large, they are always regretting about their morality or their inner happiness. So hardly any person on the earth feel morally sound, morally responsible and morally sound and self-contented. because the way of life present day on the earth. So this question is 2600 years at least old. Over there also the same. People live from morning to evening or whatever the waking time for their fulfillment of their objectives, and even if they achieve the objects or not, ultimately they are worrying about their livelihood, their way of life. Am I exploiting others? Am I too much of on the luxurious side, or do I have the basic needs? So achieved people, they worry about their way of life. The way we are earning, is it morally sound, or we are exploiting others, we are polluting the earth, or we are over-consuming material, the consumerization or luxurious usage, or the people, those who have not achieved up to the average economic stage, they are naturally depressed. So hardly any person can be happy about their way of life. So therefore, rich people, they have their own way of worry. Poor people, they are endowed with this their way of life. So therefore, some social, analytical people these days, only the middle class people may get a chance without overwhelming regret on their own morality. So we are lucky because we are somewhere in the middle class, and we somewhat achieved our basic needs economically, socially and politically, so we can live as individuals, independent individuals. But even then, hardly we feel contented, hardly we feel happy about our way of life. Or if we are happy about our offspring, or even if we are happy, we are worrying about our parents and the society. And we feel day by day the moral values are eroding off. They are in a downfall. So therefore people always entertain this kind of tension, frustration and all the kind, not only due to the morality, but morality is fairly substantial factor. Specifically, when compared with the contemporary time of the Buddha, for the last 200 years, when the scientific development or technological development, infrastructure development and the modern science, they suppress completely the moral feelings, sensitivity of the humankind. 200 we went backward. But you cannot be a scientist and moralist. It is a very open fact. But they carry on the game without showing it. So therefore they do not know the limits. They over-exploiting, exploring and misusing. Because science never give brakes and clutch. It's continuing. So therefore nowadays, due to this moral problem, so sometimes in countries like America, more than 40% in a pathogenic situation, they are under drugs, they are under medicine. They have all physical amenities, materiality, but gone. And even in Sri Lanka, the doctors, they say 10% of our children below 6 have this stomach ache, incurable. No medicine, because of the tension. Because they are morally not unstable, but they are living in such a society, so they feel their affection with the parents and the mature people always sickening. So we being in countries like Sri Lanka, the third world country, is still not escaped, because there is something wrong somewhere. Not I am telling that it is only to this age, but even the time of the Buddha also there. But imagine someone knowing that, understand basic remedy, prevention for this tension is the morality. Whatever the luxury you get, whatever the fame, gain, anything you get, still you may be a depressed person. But if you are morally sound, fairly, it gives a kind of a contentment, it gives a kind of a happiness. So whenever one person or few people or very tiny proportion of the population feel that I am not harming others, I am not exploiting others, I am not consumerizer, I am not a luxurious person, but I am living in a kind of a frugal life, and I am morally fair enough, then what should I do? So Venerable Kottita is not a person on that category or caliber, but he is asking this question from Venerable Sariputta, the authority of Dhamma. When someone is come up to this moral level, where should he put his attention, contemplation, or radical reflection? So traditional answer is, once morality is fulfilled, go to the concentration and then wisdom. But here completely different kind of answer coming from Venerable Sariputta. Without mentioning about any concentration, he says, directly go and contemplate upon the 5 aggregates. So therefore this is a kind of a shortcut, the relationship between the morality and the wisdom, without the intermediate concentration. This is a kind of a abnormal kind of a presentation. But to add some little points to that, when you go to the Four Noble Truths, you can see how the wisdom directly related to the morality, and then concentration go to the tail end of the Noble Eightfold Path. So morality and the wisdom, it has a kind of a close link and superconductive kind of a connection. So that is very common for a person like Venerable Sariputta. But if you go to a Sunday school and ask the school teacher, once you fulfill morality, what you should do, then they will say you better do concentration meditation and then you go to the wisdom. But Venerable Sariputta gives this kind of a shortcut specifically to Venerable Kottita, and that may be the hiatus, that may be the point here in this Seelavanta Sutta. And inside meditation masters are very happy to explore into this relationship, special connection between the morality and the wisdom. And therefore Venerable Mahasi Sayadaw, he took this discourse and he delivered series of talks. You can buy it, Seelavanta Sutta, and he explained, once you come up to a certain satisfaction or certain fulfillment related to your morality, whether you have traditional way of concentration or not, directly you can go into wisdom. And that is the way, that's the message of this particular sutta. So Venerable Sariputta is telling, look at your physicality and see its changing nature, torturing nature, the burning nature. It's like a dart, it's like a wound, it's like a ulcer. It is a source of, it is a substrata for this suffering. And ultimately you have to say, it is not me, it is not belongs to me, it has no any essence as such. So that is the entrance That's the threshold. That's the starting point. Because we have our corporeal body, it is three-dimensional, you can touch it. It is verifiable. So, take your verifiable body as such, or your posture as such, or try to be aware, my sitting posture, my walking posture, standing posture, lying down posture, and whenever you pay attention inwardly, that we call insight, you can see, unless otherwise you take special effort, how much of your mind is always extrovert, always outside. So that is one of the message the Buddha brings. Please be inside. Pay attention to the inside meditation so that you can invert the attention. So we can compare it with the science. Science is completely outward. It is preventing you to be inside. So much so, science is a cancer. But the method is the same. So you have to revert it and go inwardly. Why? But outwardly no end. Inwardly there may be end. But science still fails to understand it. It's always searching about the extra celestial things and galaxies and outside and everything. So Buddha is having all knowledge, lokavidu, still he asks us to look at so that there may be an end. So it's very difficult. With so much of distractions at our household, so much of distraction in our brain, mind, so much of distraction with the society, hardly any person can be inwardly. That does not indicate it is impossible. It is possible. But there should have a special method. That's what we call patipada, gradual process. Look at the body, see the corporeality, and try to verify whenever you are sitting. How do you know you are sitting? How it differ from the standing posture? How it differ from walking posture? How it differ from the lying down posture? At least these four postures you can see comparatively. So that is the way the break-even point for your mindfulness to set in. Whenever the attention is inwardly, or here now I am kind of outlook, your mindfulness take upper hand and it become the chairperson in among all the other mental concomitants. So it become giving the mindfulness the priority, giving the chair, and look at it. It become a completely new method called as meditation or mindfulness, because so much we are extrovert, so much we are outwardly. So imagine one person take time regularly to look at one's own body as corporeality, rupam, and when you are observing, your whole common sense understanding of the physics, chemistry, biology, all the other things, you can use it in order to develop the relationship between your corporeality and the mindfulness. Here the mindfulness represents your mind. Imagine one person can sit few minutes and happy with the sitting posture, and he can explain verifiably, when I am sitting, these are the points I get touched. And when breathing happens, these are the touching points. When the rising and falling happen, these are the point of touch. So you can see the sitting posture can be verified in so much of ways. And while walking, what's the difference between the sitting and walking posture? And you can see where the touching point in sitting, and when you are walking, you can see two soles. And when you are walking, you can see left to the right, right to the left, the touching point changes. And to add little for specifically for the beginner, in sitting, the most important thing is when you sit and meditate, They have to make a determination not to make any will, not to make any volitional thing, not to do any physical, verbal action consciously. Then you are opening doors to see, when I sit and do nothing, what are the unconscious things happen within me. It's a completely new way of relationship between our common sense. So when and where you try to observe your sitting body, when compared with other conscious activity, you can see without your conscious participation, volitional participation, will, the body can maintain without myself, self-involvement or any kind of a conceit, any kind of desire, it is happening. The first day, the first moment, you see the breath happen automatically, that means no forced breathing, and imagine you are observing it, it knows its complete procedure, the bell-shaped curve, the breath start and come up to the peak and disappears. Out breath happen, come out to the peak and disappears. And when you are observing, you see it is a pre-planned thing. It's a DVD already prepared. You have to just observe it. You see how difficult? How much you poke your fingers with your will and your desire and to do this and that. So, prevention of that kind of involvement is not moral restraint. It's a concentration restraint. You try just being. Very difficult. Very difficult because we are always fork fingers into this automatically happening thing, and that is how the defilement can happen, that is how the volitional activity can happen, that's how the will can come into being, that is how the conceit come into being. So you voluntarily ask your mind to mind your own business, just see what is happening. It is almost like outcasting. It's almost like you lost the connection like. So, people with so much of conceit, desire for the life, desire for the body, it's a hell of a threat. When and where everything happens naturally or unconsciously, you feel like you are a ghost. You feel like you are a demon. You feel like you are not human. So that is the point where morality is very, very important. Unless otherwise you don't have morality, don't do this game, you will go mad. Definitely. The shortest cut to the madness. I have no any hesitation when the meditation centers have so much of mad people. Because they have no moral background, they have not enough faith, so they try to focus attention when everything happening. And to see consecutive in the thought moments, so everything happened without my involvement. It's bankruptcy. It's outcasting. You are losing. You lost your connection. But still if you can look at it, you have to understand how much morality you must have to just observe it as if you are sitting by a river and look at the river flow without forking your finger into the natural flow. If you fork your finger, you will get wet and you will disturb the undisturbed current. So can you sit in a dry place and observe what is happening? It's a challenge. It's a quest. It's a noble quest. So we people lucky enough with failure or success, we have done it. So therefore we know how many minutes, how many thought moments, how many breaths I can just observe. And while you observe it, you can see how much wandering mind. You can see how much uncontrollability of the situation. And therefore you think it is as your failure. You think your meditation is progressive, not progressive. What I am telling is that is not your success or failure, that is the truth. Are you just ready to see? But even then I would say, you won't get the full marks. To get full marks, you have to observe it and report to someone as it happens. That's the day you are reinforcing your knowledge. You are accepting your knowledge. Otherwise, you may look at it, but still if you have any doubt, is it the correct thing? Have I done any crime? Am I unmindful? Or am I immoral? Or am I lack of concentration? These are the things. The natural communication never takes place. Moment you develop the communication, ask anyone on the earth. Each and everyone report exactly the same. Things are not controllable. Never happen as you like. It is a painfully slow start. For that only you must have faith. You must have morality. And that is the way, no other way. This is the trial and error method. So when you continue like that, imagine the day you are ready to accept the body is not responding in a proper way, breath is not, and pains are there, thoughts are there, all the kind of things. But the day you understand, okay, never mind, amidst of all the distraction, I can now look at the breath. 1, 2, 3, 4. That is equivalent to the quantity of mindfulness. More breaths means more mindfulness. Later, you develop the quality of mindfulness whereby you can see the difference between in-breath and out-breath. You can see in-breath to in-breath changes. You can see the beginning of in-breath to the middle of the in-breath, middle of in-breath to the end of the in-breath. They are very subtle, very detailed, very sappy, very juicy thing. So first you develop the quantity, and then you go to the quality. When you go there, you can see more and more, you see the innate accent, its intrinsic characteristic of the breath. So outside even the sound happens, pain happens, everything no problem. Because your mind is penetrated into. So you may develop the art. So when developing, you can see, if you carefully observing, one breath to one breath changes, unbelievably, it is changing. If you are going to consider it as a failure, thinking it's a lack of mindfulness or lack of concentration, that is because of your preconceived ideas. That is, of course, because of your premeditated ideas, because you don't know how to report, you don't know how to observe it. How many hours, how many interviews will it take someone just to see the breath consecutively and observe how it is changing? Exactly for you to understand, you have to have anagami phala jnana, then only you can really explain. Till that you edit it, till that you add commentaries, till that you put your views, so communication is utterly disturbed. So you have to be very innocent, you have to be very simple, to just report what is happening. But it's a complicated job. But I will go a little away and just tell you, instead of you all crocs, if you give this message to a young child at the age of 7, they will exactly report it. You never believe the response from the Satipasala. If you ask, this is happening, how do you experience? They explain, because they have nothing to hide, nothing to exaggerate. So we see our old age, our education, our achievement and our everything is disturbing our communication. But Pandita Sayadaw says, not necessarily. If you know how to be innocent, how to be simple, you can report. But after so much of trial and error also, you must happen. So whenever you see the materiality, the breath, that is called Vayopotthabha Dhatu, how the air element is behaving in the in-breath mode, out-breath mode, and when you observe it, that mind, of course, get mindful, and then certain amount of avenuing with the particular object, face to face with your object, and keeping the posture fairly longer time than you, then you can see the moment you master, moment you become acquainted with materiality, huge amount of mentality going to camouflage the situation and do kind of a influence. So, for up to the last talk, we were talking about the materiality, and we just step into the what is the element of feelings doing to the meditator, or harming the meditator, or distorting the meditator, whenever someone is trying to develop the relationship with the materiality. When the breath becomes face to face, and when you're observing, so much of feelings are coming. Don't think feelings are the only thing can distract. But mentality-wise, immaterial-wise, feeling, perception and volitional activities, they are the three. Completely distorting you and perverting you, you do not know. So therefore, whenever you become fairly acquainted with, fairly face-to-face with the materiality, you have to expect not only the aggregate of materiality, then you have to go for Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara, or feelings, perception, and the volitional activities. They are completely coloring the situation and distorting the situation. But the later masters, commentators, they explain there are three kinds of personality traits. Some people are more alert, more sensitive to the feeling. That's a feeling kind. There's another kind, more sensitive to the perception, the labeling and decoding and coding. There's another kind, they are more concerned about the volitional involvement, willful action. So therefore, Vedana Charita, Sanya Charita, Sankhara Charita. So whenever this second part or the feeling part happen, some may not understand because they may be Sanya Charita or Sankhara Charita. For them, this explanation may not applicable or palatable. But don't think these three characteristic traits are hard and fast. It can be changed from one to the other. So therefore, those people with the feeling characters, they are very aesthetic kind of people. Whole life is for the feelings. For them, whenever you have develop the relationship with the materiality, so to say the breath, or your rising and falling, or your walking meditation, the behind you can understand the feeling world. They try to interpret it, get involved, and therefore, as far as you keep the materiality in view with, there's another dimension, feeling dimension or immaterial dimension, it is happening. So it may appear like mystics. It may appear like someone is coming and involved, getting like, no, all the phenomena, whatever it may be, it has a material part and the mental part, Nama and Rupa. So when and where the Rupa aspect becomes fixed, the Nama aspect becomes aggravated, agitated in three terms: feeling way, perception way, and the volitional way. So today we are talking basically on the feelings, and we talk about how the backdrop of your stage, why the feeling, the materiality is playing the role play, the backdrop is changing. And when it is changing, it is directly influencing to your observation of the primary object, the materiality. So therefore you have to have basic understanding and preparedness to go there. Whenever the materiality come into being, whenever the materiality become seasoned, whenever the materiality become face to face, there is some camouflage changes in terms of feeling, perception and the volitional activities. So these feelings, the first thing you will understand if you are sharp enough, if you are co-prepared, that they make very impactful influence, but they are quickly changing. Feelings are changing, even though we hedonic people go with the pleasure principle. The pleasure is not the only feeling on the earth. Whatever the project you started with the pleasure, utterly end up with pain. Each appointment is going to end up with a disappointment, whether you understand it or not. So therefore, whenever you keep on practicing with the breath, materiality, you find sometimes pleasurable, sometimes painful. So of course you expect the pleasure because you are meditating in order to get rid of suffering. But instead sometimes this very breath, mindfulness on the breath itself become very boring. It becomes very monotonous. It becomes very uncertain. It becomes very fearful. It becomes feel like you are going to the unknown area, like the feelings come into being. So when it happens, if you have a scientific thinking, you may think it as a mystics. So therefore hardly you can report it. Because now 2 dimension, breath, the materiality is somewhat under control, somewhat you can keep it. But feelings play a kind of a role. So therefore, whenever you are going to go to immaterial sphere, from the material sphere, so your mindfulness must be twofold. It must be skillful. While keeping one eye on the materiality or the breath, then you have to be aware what is the behind happening. It may be a feeling, it may be a perception, it may be a volitional activities, and to observe it. We can't expect everyone to develop that kind of a skillfulness in a gradual way or lenient way. It may be, some people may be very skillful, others may be taking so much of time. So therefore, whenever the feeling happens, or sometimes you may give marks telling today's meditation is good, today meditation is no good, today my breath is very gross, gross is good, and today my breath is subtle, subtle is bad. Or sometimes you say good is, the gross breath is bad, the subtle breath is good. So likewise the kind of interpretation happens is keep on chattering inside. So they are, if you, while keeping the breath face to face, to aware, to be alert, to be diligent, to be vigilant on the feeling, is not a Montessori class, it is not advanced, it is postgraduate degree. While keeping one thing on, and you have to observe the second dimension. So therefore, this is called vipassana. Samatha utterly journeys with the materiality. Samatha meditation, you keep the object view with, try to absorb into the object, you never analyze the object. Leave aside the feelings, analyzing of the feeling. So therefore, whenever the meditation exceeding materiality is utterly inside meditation. So if you see Anapanasati Sutta, the very first tetrad is with the materiality. And the second tetrad, starting with the Piti Patisangvedi, Sukha Patisangvedi, Chitta Sankhara Patisangvedi, Pasambhaya and Chitta Sankhara, they are concerned about the feelings. It's utter inside meditation. So what Venerable Sariputta is giving, whenever you are with your moral restraint, you have the capacity to go into even feelings without any kind of a formal concentration, formal jhanic experience, if you sharp enough. So for that, the most important thing is how to report your feelings or your experience or your impact without interpretations, without colorations, without preconceived ideas. So that preparedness, see what happens, is very important. So if it is so, only you can see feelings are there definitely, but they are quickly changing. Very fast is changing, and observing this highly changing feeling itself is a suffering. Because you, from the morning to evening, for example, in the household life, you plan it and implement it in order to have the pleasure. But even the pleasure happens, it quickly disappears. And the pain happens. So therefore, ultimately, each day, you go to the bed utterly discouraged. But next day morning again you come out with so much of plans and to-dos, so much of, but at the end of the day you can see. So it is cheating kind of. So in the meditation they happen in a very quick, short cycles. The pleasure happens and then disappears. And the pain happens. So the day you understand, not carried away by the pain and the pleasure, but to understand the nature of feeling, that's what I am telling, it is a postgraduate degree. Like. And if you are managed to understand, you can see each pleasurable feeling end up with pain. Each and every. And each painful feeling end up with pleasure. In other words, the starting feeling is never you can see at the end. At the end you see another one. If you start with the pleasure, end up with pain. If you start with the pain, start with the pleasure. Where is the transition? It is unperceivable. Because you have the underlying tendency, directed disposition, whenever the pleasure happens, you get amused. And you look at it as, oh, it is my pleasure, I earned it, I am the owner, like, your mind is not so clear, so therefore it is transition into the pain, it's a happening, you can't understand it. Whenever the pain happens, you face it with discouraged mind, disappointed mind, so even if it is going to give a pleasure, your mind is not prepared. So the Buddha, he says, as far as you are in pleasure, as far as the pain, at least in the directed disposition, this is the most important two extremes you must get rid of. This is the very first word of the Buddha soon after his enlightenment. Dve me bhikkave anta pabbajitena nasevi tappa. Yochayang kamesu kamasu kallikani yogo attakilmatani yogo. So likewise, if you start with the pain or pleasure, your mind is utterly bewildered, utterly gone wild, so therefore you can't see things as they are. So what is the answer? Answer is, you have to find a grey area, no pain, no pleasure situation. It's a very subtle, very difficult to make black and white pain and pleasure into black, grey and white kind of three kinds of hedonic spheres. So this understanding never happens unless otherwise you master your breath, master your mindfulness, and even then, if you are not prepared, you hardly trace it, the in-between grey area. The moment you understand the grey area, you can find that is what we call boredom. That's why we call the monotony. That's why we call not dramatic. That's why we call fearful. That's why we call uncertain. This is why we call unknown area. So how much preparedness you must have to welcome that. When it is happening only, you can see how quickly painful feeling is changing to the pleasurable changing to the pain, and this changing happen how much each feeling cheating each other, and everyone is cheating. And imagine you are ready to accustom into the new way of life or livelihood you are going to change. Don't go for the extreme high pleasure or extreme pain. Try to maintain somewhere in between. That's why we call the meditator. That's why we call hermit. That's why we call the way of life, livelihood. So that very difficult when you are a young person. At your 20s or 30s to compromise to the middle, no way. You have to be more than 60 years old. Then only, there's no other way, so you will fall back into that no pain, no pleasure, because your eyesight become blur. Taste also not so very tasty. When you smell, also not giving so much. So you fall like, but that is called ignorant kind of no pain, no pleasure. But if you can have a bright wisdom, wise, no pain, no pleasure, that is more recharging you, more rejuvenating you. Venerable Dhammatina, in this particular sutta, she says, whenever you know this no pain, no pleasure, that's a pleasure. If you do not know, you are cheating yourself. Multi-million companies can cheat you. Multinational companies can cheat you. Because they are cheating in between the extremes. Too pleasure, too much of pain. So if you are compromising with the no pain, no pleasure, whatever we got already is utterly enough. Then we will learn the term enough. Now it has gone from our vocabulary. Never enough. If enough for me, it is not enough for my children. Even if I am happy enough, it's not enough for my parents. Or not enough my country. Not enough my Buddhism. Not enough my all the kind of things. So no pain, no pleasure. It's a kind of satisfaction. It's called a contentment. It appears like a defeat at the 20s and 30s. The Buddha says after 40s only, you come to the Jnana Dasaka, Indriya Paripaka. There one can have his or her experience to understand. Not that everyone has to wait till the 50s. During the time of the Buddha, they were very young children, they got enlightened. But in the West it says you are reborn into the psychology in 50s. So therefore one day Pandita Sayadaw went to a retreat. And people were Western and they are never expecting happy about the reincarnation or rebirth. So he told, I am not forcing you to accept it, but Buddhism is developing and it is going with the rebirth, so it's keep it in your mind. Don't even if it is not proved. And the second thing is, he told, if you have done a very good karmic process next year, next life, you may be human, otherwise you be a beast, or you may be a devil, or you may be a demon. So you have to be very, very meritorious, even if to get a human life. And even then, after 50s only, you will understand the value of human life. Till that you are going for pleasure principle. So at the end of the retreat, one person raised the hand and told, Bhante, I don't know whether I really understand what you are telling. That understand the rebirth and understanding only 50s only you are reborn and really born in psychology. So therefore, if I am to have a wish, I will reborn next life as a human, starting with 50. Because 10s, 20s, 30s are utterly vulnerable. May I reborn as a human in 50s? You see, hedonic things are how much cheating us at the 10s, 20s, 30s, 40s. So therefore, not that I am telling that all the old crocs are going to get enlightened. Don't that idea. What I am telling young people can do, the quick wins. What I am telling is how hard you to understand no pain, no pleasure. And even if you understand the no pain, no pleasure, even without meditation, 85% of your life is no pain, no pleasure. You don't know because you hate it. Because you like pleasure principle. Chasing behind the pleasure. So therefore born enlightened, but we do not know. We are born enlightened, we do not know. Most of the time we are in no pain, no pleasure. We consider this as boredom. We pass time, we have hobbies, we go picnics, we look at the papers and we look at the television and we read novels and all the kind of thing in order to keep us busy. Ultimately what happens is you go to the two extremes. So when you go to the no pain, no pleasure, you understand the more you go high seeking or chasing behind the pleasure, it is more cheating. More pain, more cheating. But the no grey area is not so cheating from the beginning, the middle and the end. It is in a flat. It is not a spikes. So compromising that, you must have idea, the pleasure principle what we are talking, it has no any essence. It's a utterly multi-million companies business. It's a utterly multinational company business. Not that during the time of the Buddha there were multinational companies, but this kind of people are always exploiting our society. When we follow the trends of the society, we are already vulnerable. So therefore, you have to understand how much to get out of this mainstream and to have solitude and to have your peace of mind and to have your contentment. To appear like you are against the society. But the Buddha says, not against the society, you are against the current, you are against the grain. Do we have that personality? Or we are just following the trend? Trend is always with the conspiracy. It's always the multi-million company. It's always with multinational company. You people sometimes may be working in these companies, but you do not know. So when you come to the no pain, no pleasure, compromising, not that utterly you are enlightened, but you can see how when you become full of pleasure principle, how much you are carried away. So there you have to compromise. More pleasure is, even if you try to give a permanent notion, even you are going to give the auspicious notion, even if you are going to give the beautiful notion to the pleasure, it has no such an essence. It's utterly an advertisement. So therefore, the last part of the feeling is, you must look at it without an essence. It's non-governable. Understanding no essence and non-governability is not inferiority, it is not destruction, it is not a nihilistic. That is, for that only Buddha is standing. For that only the Dhamma is standing. For that only Sangha is standing. For that only the precepts are standing. It is not nihilistic. But compromising to the no pain, no pleasure situation, you have to make a conscious decision. You have to go prepared and you have to understand the feelings. It has no essence as such. It has, you are not governable. The pleasure end up with pain, pain end up with pleasure. What about the middle area? What about the no pain, no pleasure? Still you can't say it is utterly governable, but you are not much carried away by this pain. So therefore, more and more mature people, more and more advanced people, more and more contented people, they try to be aware. They are ready to accept this no pain, no pleasure situation is always at home, but you are not appreciating. The moment you try to appreciate this no pain, no pleasure situation, you find whenever you are aware of your body posture, you are in no pain, no pleasure. Because the body itself is not a pleasurable feeling, it is not a painful feeling, it's a grey area. But naturally it is not going. Because being with your body won't give so much of happiness. So therefore, you love your better half. Males are happy with the females. Females are happy with the males. You can love the other's body, but that means you are hating your body. You are hating the present moment. You are hating here. That is why the research means. If you are happy, if you are contented, what is to look for? No research necessary. As far as you are not happy, you always invest 40% of your multinational company investment for research. Why? Present is not happy. My body is not happy. Because you do not know how to appreciate no pain, no pleasure. So therefore, the more and more you understand the pleasure principle that we are searching is not governable one. It has no any essence or pith as such. So what about giving this knowledge to your second generation? I am accusing you all at flat rate. You are misguided fellows, misleading your children. Misleading your children. Try to push up on the pedestal and start whitewashing. Where they are going to end up? So therefore, if single of you try to understand, definitely your second generation, progeny, will understand it, but even then you find very difficult task. What is that? Even if you understand how to pass this message to the second generation, it's the hardest thing to communicate. It's the hardest thing to communicate, so therefore you have to live your life up to that. Your behavior must talk louder than your words. Then only the second generation will be ready. It is not impossible. Because I, up to the age 26, utterly with pleasure principle. More than any one of us, you. I was chasing behind the sensuous pleasure. Sometimes sexual pleasure. It doesn't matter. After a few years of the proper training, I can understand it. So I can relate to you due to my mistakes and my way of life. So therefore don't get discouraged. But start right now. The gain, the aim, the objective that you kept is a dream. It's a mirage. Each objective kill you from the present moment. Whenever there is no objective, don't think it's a nihilistic. But it must have a thesis. You have no future objectives, but be here and now. Then you can understand what does it mean by the no pain, no pleasure. You are right now here, but the thing is, you have a phobia. You have a kind of a hysteric feeling, being here is not so nice. So that is how, whenever you have morally sound, take your sitting posture and understand, verify what is the feeling when you close eyes as doing nothing. This is what you call the no pain, no pleasure. And what else you need to have this no pain, no pleasure? Only the knowledge. As far as the ignorance is there, it is searching about something more. That adding something or some tasteful things, these are the things misleading you. So therefore compromise. Wherever you are sitting, wherever you are walking, wherever you are lying down, wherever standing, if you try to be in the body, people will not appreciate you because they are chasing behind the pleasure principle. But you are born with that. More and more you appreciate, you will see, each time you understand it, you become rejuvenated, you will be so happy, because everything is here. Therefore, at the beginning or the theoretically or philosophically appear like nihilistic, appear like lack of hedonic feelings like. But the more you go there, the contentment is there. That contentment is, the present here and now contentment is inalienable, unalloyed. It need no any kind of additives. So therefore, sometimes I say, be mindful and mind your own business. Simple like that. Considering about the past, future, other people and other places, first and foremost be contented here, and then you will be a real example for you as well as the society, the fellow beings, and you yourself. The moment you come up to this moment, this understanding, immediately you are the person going to feel it. It won't take much of time. So that's the end of the today's talk. Thank you very much for listening.